From vaccine distribution to reopening the economy to fixing our worn-out infrastructure, so many major projects are county responsibilities. We'll talk to the execs in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb. And former Governor Jennifer Granholm takes on one of the biggest challenges facing the world as Secretary of Energy. Today is Sunday, March 14, 2021, and this is Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. We're heading into St. Patrick's Day this week. And like the last one, it won't quite be the same shoulder-to-shoulder Irish blowout that is customary. But maybe, just maybe, holidays will start to return to a kind of normalcy in the near future. President Biden clearly has his eye on the 4th of July, but maybe even sooner, if we can keep the vaccines flowing, and only if, in the meantime, we can keep a concerning jump in cases from becoming a big spike. This morning, we're going to gather the county leaders from Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties to talk about the outlook for not only the virus and the vaccine, but for the post-pandemic economy. And then a little later on, we're going to talk with the former Michigan governor, who is now the nation's Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm, on shoring up the grid and the role Michigan can play in that. It's all today on Flashpoint. Well, it felt like a momentous development on Friday when it was announced that starting April 5th, that's 3 weeks from tomorrow, the vaccine is going to be available to all Michigan adults aged 16 and up. Now, we should not, of course, confuse eligibility with availability, nor should we confuse it with full participation of the citizenry, but it is obviously a hopeful step. Let's talk about it with the county leaders for Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties. Wayne County Executive Warren Evans is here, as is Dave Coulter, the Oakland County Executive, and at the bottom of your screen you see Macomb County's Mark Hackel. And Mark Hackel, let me start with you. You haven't exactly been a shrinking violet about your frustrations that you voice. I want you all to weigh in a little bit now with where you feel like we are on getting the vaccine out to Michiganders and your own individual experience with it and the outlook as we move ahead. Mark Hackel, you first.
Yeah, I'm very encouraged moving forward. I say that for this reason. The biggest challenge we had early on, phase 1A was going well. Phase 1B was kind of thrust upon us without having the supply. So with that, my big concern was for the vulnerable population, that being seniors. There's no question about it. Data says that 90% of the people that died were 60 years of age and older. And so with that, having everybody else kind of trying to figure out how to get in the funnel at the same time really put them in dire straits. So we didn't have enough vaccine. We're trying to figure that out. But fortunately, here as we sit here today in Macomb County, well over 60% of our seniors 65 and older. That's a great statistic, great number. So with that, we even said earlier today, we wanted to bump that up. We think we can open it up to pretty much all that want a vaccine. It should be available to get a vaccine by April 5th. And so I was actually glad to hear that the governor of the state decided to move the president's initiative forward sooner. So we're ready, looking forward to it.
I'm not sure I would have believed that percentage was possible if we had talked 2 months ago about it, so I think you're right. Warren Evans,
agreed.
Interesting situation for you, of course, as Detroit splits out on its own with its own health department, and then you've got the rest of the county where there have been some frustrations. What's your overall take so far?
Overall take is we're in the right direction now. I certainly had some concerns about the overall number of vaccines that we were getting based on our population and based on the other factors. But that seemed to have rectified itself in the last 2 or 3 weeks. We're getting, I think, ample dosages, and we've done a lot of vaccinations. We're up to about 87,000 people overall. One of the things that was most important to me was get school teachers done too as soon as we could. Yeah. So that we're not an impediment to schools reopening, and we're making a big dent in our plus 65 population. And I'm excited about being able to hit the general public pretty soon. We're working effectively. We've had a lot of help from the National Guard and others, and so it seems like a pretty solid team effort now. I feel a lot better.
And Dave Coulter, word is that you're pretty pleased with how things have gone thus far in Oakland County. Is that still the case?
Yeah, generally I'd say it is. I mean, I agree. All of us have said more doses are helpful, but sure. On a week-to-week basis, we continue to see that number grow. We're also very focused on our senior population, 65 and above. We've done close to 60% of ours, but we still have 65,000 seniors in that category on our list. So we do still have a little ways to go to get through our senior population. But I'm encouraged that the governor has opened up full eligibility on April the 5th, which she did last Friday, and we'll be prepared for that. And that's what we've been working for. We've been building partnerships with our healthcare systems, with Meyer, so that as the doses increase, and we always knew they eventually would, our capacity will start to get strained, but we'll have partners throughout the county with easy access for our residents to get the vaccine as conveniently as possible for them.
Well, now is all three.
Devin, Devin, I just want to make sure the seniors know that right now, because obviously they're looking to open this up sooner, that they need not worry. I think Warren Evans and obviously Dave had that same mindset. You know, here in Macomb County, we're putting the full court press. I know it's March Madness upon us. I'm a sports nut. With that being said, we're working with our healthcare systems and even the pharmacies and the outlets saying, listen, we know we can get to about 65-70% of our seniors before the end of the month. And so that is going to be our goal. We're pushing for it to make sure seniors, and we know we're going to reach that goal. We're very comfortable with that. So I just want to make sure seniors listening or sitting at home don't think that, hey, our excitement about opening it up to the masses is going to put them at a disadvantage. I think every one of us has a plan together to try to focus on over this next month. How do we make sure that every senior that wants a vaccine gets a vaccine here in Southeast Michigan?
It's a really important point. And Warren, I wanted to let you weigh in on, and given that this has been largely seen as people have talked about this as being a coming issue in Detroit. Your thoughts on people who have no interest or are very skeptical or fearful even of the vaccine. Are you hearing much of that? The mayor told me a couple weeks ago that by definition we haven't heard that yet because, of course, right now we're only hearing from people who want it. We haven't gotten around to the people yet who may be reluctant to have it.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Significantly for me, the older the person is, cut across any line. I mean, they've been treading water for a long time, and I'm not getting much of a negative, I don't want it from older people at all. Maybe that'll change a little bit when we start doing more with younger folk, but I haven't seen that to be true. I can't tell you how inundated I am with calls from older people asking for the vaccine and trying to find a way to get to it. Oftentimes they're not as internet savvy as others, and so the scheduling and those sorts of things takes a little more effort. But no, I have not seen that yet.
Well, all three of you now are going to be trying to make the turn toward creating whatever a post-pandemic economy is going to start to look like. And Dave Coulter, let me start with you and your thoughts on the strictures that have been laid down by the governor, rather unilaterally, of course, famously, and whether those have been too much, and does that make it now really difficult for you to overcome as you try and rebuild a post-pandemic world?
No, it doesn't make it more difficult. In fact, I believe, and I'll say that I think some of the very difficult but important decisions she's had to make have saved lives and have kept people from being infected. And I think she's tried to do that the best that she could. But we're in a much different place now. Our restaurants are at 50% capacity. There's not very much that's left in Oakland County that's not allowed to be operating. And so our goal is going to be, we were very aggressive with the CARES Act funding that we received last year. That was a lifeline to our businesses, our residents, our nonprofits. And I'm very excited that the Congress has now passed another round of funding because that's going to be critical. And it's a game changer. The amount of funds that our counties are going to get as a result of that package is transformational. And we get 3 years to spend it. Now, I'm anxious, and some of it's going to get out the door right away for things like vaccinations and the like.
Right.
But we have time to be really intentional about how we make sure we bring our economies back and protect our people for the long term. And I think that's very helpful.
Mark Heckel, your thought. In fact, before we get to the package that Dave Coulter's just talking about, your thoughts on these closures. There are still a lot of restaurateurs I know who they can't function at 50%. They can't. The margins are so thin in the restaurant world to begin with that never mind 25%, even 50% is not enough for a lot of them.
Yeah, and let's not forget the other thing that's impacting them right now is obviously the funds that are available for people, that are helping them. Some of them, it's a challenge. Okay, do I go to work, make less than what I'm making by obviously the bonus and the opportunity they're getting for not going to work? So they're having a hard time finding people to come back and work in these facilities. So again, fortunately here in Macomb County, throughout the entire process, hardest part was communicating what was going on and what those orders meant. And we tried to keep up with it as best we could. But our health department here in Macomb County, we were not punitive with one business here in Macomb County or one resident, if you will. We were more communicative. In other words, trying to explain to them the challenges found on CDC. How do we work with them? Much like, David mentioned with our CARES dollars, how do we get that to our businesses to help them keep them up and afloat? But we're already moving in that direction. We're already looking at manufacturing, having these conversations. I'm working with the state right now on what we're looking at F-35 opportunities for some foreign investment to bring them here. So I think you're going to see a rebound. I think you're going to see a comeback. I think we're going to be pretty strong. But yeah, let's face it, there are going to be some businesses that will have been impacted that are going to be probably left behind and maybe not make it out of this. But we're here to try to figure out how do we work with them and always have been here in Macomb County.
Yeah, there is clearly some that we just won't get back, which is awful. Warren Evans, your eyes light up the same way as you look at that pile of money that is now coming your way?
Yeah, to spend it the right way. I mean, what we did in Wayne County, I think the governor did what she felt she needed to do to try to keep all of us safe. And, I'm not much of a Monday morning quarterback, but I do know we just the process hurt a number of small businesses. Yeah. Well, we spent I got it. We spent $50 million of CARES Act money supporting small businesses both in Detroit and Wayne County to try to keep those that are viable on their feet and able to go. Whether they all survive or not, I think we know not all of them will, but the effort was certainly there to do what we could do to compensate for the restrictions that were there. I'm really glad the restrictions are being lifted, and I just hope we get the vaccines out close enough so we don't have to do anything to restrict anymore. And you look at construction projects and stuff throughout Wayne County, I agree with Mark. We're still moving in a number of areas that are very significant projects. They haven't been halted or put on the back burner, so I'm optimistic going forward.
Back to Mark Hackle here really quickly on this matter. Your county prosecutor, Pete Lucido, clearly has the governor in his sights in a prosecutorial fashion over her nursing home policies. Is that the right thing for him to do?
Yeah, I try to stay away from all the political bantering on both sides, and even politics within the parties. So, whatever's going on with him and the governor, the reality is it has nothing or is not impacting us as a county. I find some of this political stuff that's going on very distasteful. And again, that's all it does is it creates this tension that I think we're seeing throughout the entire country. So, whatever, Pete is up to with regards to the governor, I have not been part of that. I don't know what he's got planned. And again, I would just much rather, how do we figure out how do we deal with this issue, with this crisis, and start focusing on roads and the economy as opposed to all of this partisan bickering that's going on. And it's unfortunate. I don't know how do we get past that. I'm one person trying to figure out how do we do that and be a little bit more nonpartisan or reach across the aisle by action as opposed to sometimes by conversation.
Dave, I've only got about 15 seconds left. Are you hopeful, too, that we can get back to the infrastructure challenges that you all face now?
Yeah, and part of the new package has infrastructure for us to invest. So that's something we're going to lean into. Everybody knows about the roads and bridges and sewer and water mains in this state have been underinvested in for a long time. And so part of this package is going to allow us to address those. And that's a once in a lifetime opportunity, I think, to make a real significant investment in our infrastructure. And we're going to lean in and are excited to do so in Oakland County.
We sure hope so. Dave Coulter, Mark Hackle, Warren Evans. Gentlemen, thanks so much for the time. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you guys.
Take a quick break. Back with Jennifer Granholm on Flashpoint on Local 4.
When you think of DraftKings, you might think sports, but there's so much more. DraftKings used their top-of-the-line technology to create a mobile casino app for a new way to get skin in the game, offering all the games you love, including blackjack, roulette, slots, and more. Download the DraftKings Casino app to play for real cash prizes. Play for over $3.5 million in prizes by opting into the Leaderboard Legends series. Don't wait. Download the DraftKings Casino app now and make it rain.
MSU Federal Credit Union is excited to announce that we are now open at our new Sashaba branch, located at 6051 Sashaba Road in Clarkston. We're offering several grand opening specials, including $100 when you add direct deposit to your account. Take advantage of our many benefits, including free checking, low-rate auto and mortgage loans, and our cashback Visa credit cards. Too busy to stop by the branch? Open your account online. It's fast and easy. Just visit msufcu.org.
Ready, set, go.
Go, boy, go! Go, boy, go! Go, boy, go!
Live big in the larger-than-life SUVs from GMC. The GMC Acadia, Terrain, and all-new Yukon. GM employee program participants with a current eligible GMC lease can get this low-mileage lease on this 2021 Terrain SLE for $169 per month. We are professional grade GMC.
This changemaker's journey took her from volunteer to the first female president of her hospital. Monday morning at 6:30, our Women's History Month coverage continues. See how the pandemic has had a major effect on her career and how she does her job now.
COVID in particular just really rocked everybody to their core. I never ever expected in my entire career I'd see something like this.
Nick Monticelli walks the hospital halls with her as she shares her story. Monday on Local 4 News Today.
Welcome back. Well, quite a change for a former governor of Michigan. Spent a lot of time in the academic world, then spent a lot of time on CNN holding forth as a commentator, but now moving into the Biden administration. Jennifer Granholm is the new Secretary of Energy, and the former governor, I guess now it's Madam Secretary. Good to have you back on Flashpoint, a program you spent a lot of time on.
I know. I'm glad to be back in this new role, and it's great to see you, Devin.
Well, really good to have you back. Let me start with what happened this past week. I know for the administration, I know you're awfully excited that President Biden has his first legislative victory. It went through, though, against what he sort of, and I think a lot of Democrats hoped that they would be able to do, even though they had a majority, couldn't get anybody from the other side to go along. So it ends up being sort of a one-party push through. Is that good government?
Well, I think the outcome is certainly good government, that there is relief for real people all across the country. I mean, in Michigan, my goodness, you're going to get an influx of money for people. So $300 benefit increase for those who are on unemployment, $1,400 checks. Devin, I think the thing that's hasn't really been talked about much is the fact that people who are parents whose kids are under 7 will see a $300 a month benefit, and that's a tax credit, but you don't have to wait till you file your tax returns to get it. It will come for the next 6 months to help relief. So to me, and it's hugely popular, as you know. There's certainly bipartisan support across the country. You know, I'm new to Washington, so the Potomac fever is really still very high here, and I hope that there is a cure at some point. And I just worry that if there's not a cure for this bill that has such enormous bipartisan support, when will there be that cure? And I sure hope we get there.
We don't seem to have a vaccine in development for that.
I know, wouldn't that be great?
But I think part of the problem, I mean, it is unavoidable, isn't it? I mean, there are a lot of things in this bill that really don't have anything at all to do with COVID recovery. Isn't that fair?
I'm not sure. I mean, when you think about the money that's going to schools who have to get kids caught up.
But backfilling union pensions that have been long before coronavirus have been badly mismanaged and underwater. I mean, those kinds of things, it's kind of hard to make the case that was, especially given the amount of money in this bill. I think some people, especially a lot of Republicans, saying that it should have all been earmarked only for COVID.
Well, I mean, Devin, the vast majority of it is earmarked for COVID, but particularly earmarked to give relief to people who are in pain. And obviously, making sure that pensions are secure is not unrelated. Making sure that people have income during this time is related. So I think, and you know, for Michigan, particularly the unemployment benefit, the trust fund. I mean, that was getting very depleted. And so that you don't have to tax employers to be able to replenish that. Those things may not technically have to do with illness, but I would say they definitely have to do with making sure that the country is healing. And so I think it's a great victory for the nation. And it's not Democrat, Republican, it is for people.
Well, let's move into your new arena. And I want to start with one that is particularly keen right now in Michigan, and that's the issue over Line 5 in the Mackinac Straits. This is an issue with which you're pretty familiar. I know there's some things, parts of this portfolio that you're still learning, no doubt, but this one you know. And this past week, the Natural Resources Minister, this is reached now as well into Ottawa, said that this is not debatable, that this line has to stand and the energy that's flowing through it has to continue to do so for the welfare of Canada.
Yeah, obviously the Canadians feel very strongly about it. But if there's one thing I learned, Devin, when I was governor, I certainly didn't appreciate it if another governor who came before me comes back and comments on my decisions. And obviously, I'm not going to do that for Gretchen Whitmer.
It points out and perhaps frames, though, a better argument and debate that you will have to deal with, and that is the safe transmit and transportation of a fuel that, for all of our talk about wanting to be green, we are still going to be relying on fossil fuels for some time.
But here's the great thing about the Department of Energy, Devin, is that this is the technology place. This is the solutions place. And so for natural gas or oil or coal, the technology that's being researched in the 17 laboratories across, these are national labs, 70,000 people who are researching solutions. This is the solutions place. And so there is technology now that can be attached to the extraction of fossil fuels to make it carbon free. And so that to me is very exciting. Even the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change said we can't get to the 2050 goal without some of these technologies, but those technologies will also allow for a transition and for us to have baseline power. So I'm very excited about that. Because the Department of Energy is such a technology place, I came and announced this week that Michigan got two $5 million almost grants, so $10 million from the Department of Energy's Advanced Research Projects Agency for making cars more efficient through technology, through connected and autonomous vehicle technology. And it's very exciting because it happened at Michigan Tech, way up in the UP, and it happened at a place in Ann Arbor, which wasn't even connected to U of M. But it's very exciting because Michigan continues to be on the forefront of vehicle technology that will help us get to that goal of net carbon zero by 2050.
I have more than a passing interest in it as somebody who is awaiting his electric Mustang that's been ordered.
I'm driving one now. It's so great. The Mach-E.
Yes, the Mach-E. You've of course the Energy Secretary would get one first. I love that. But
well,
what I'm trying
the department got it. I'm just the body in the back seat. But but I do have a Chevy Bolt, and this is my second Chevy Bolt, and after my second Chevy Volt, and I'm telling you, the electric vehicles, they are so good coming out of Michigan.
But like so many other things in our lives, it becomes one more thing that we have to plug in every day. The phone.
Better to plug it in than to have to go to a gas station.
I agree, but the demands on the grid are different. And so what do we do to make sure that all of this stuff that we're plugging in, from cars to phones to iPads to AirPods, on and on and on,
Yeah.
Are we ready for a new one?
This is a really important question, Devin, because of the electronics infusion and the need for storage, the need for energy. We've got to add hundreds of gigawatts of clean energy to the national grid. That means we have to add capacity to the grid, that the grid has to be resilient and it has to make sure it has enough capacity, but it also means huge job opportunities because we need to make that energy clean. And that means, the work that we started in Michigan back, 10, 15 years ago, will give more opportunity for job creation in the state. And that's very exciting too.
Last question, and this goes to what Bill Gates talks about in his new book, though, which is all about how quickly the world needs to get green. But he says that one of those bridge technologies that we have to begin to trust and develop further is nuclear technology. How do you feel about that?
I think that's right. I think, in fact, in the DOE labs, they are researching these small modular nuclear reactors. Nuclear energy is clean. And so of course, we have to deal with the waste issue, and that's we've got to make sure that we do that well as well. Yucca Mountain was a waste depository, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the place, but that we have to continue to work on. But the technology itself is baseline technology that adds to reliability on the grid, and it is clean. So I think it is one of the solutions that we're going to continue to research and hopefully deploy.
I've only got about a million other topics to get to, but we're going to have to leave it there.
Kevin, so nice to see you. So
really great to have you back on the program again. I hope we'll talk again soon.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Former Governor Granholm, now Secretary of Energy for the U.S. We'll take a quick break. Back with more on Flashpoint. Right after this.
We all got hit hard in 2020. Beaumont's been fighting the pandemic with our community since Michigan's first COVID patients were diagnosed. It takes all of us. We're proud to have cared for the most COVID patients in the state. And now we're leading the fight to end the pandemic with our new vaccination clinics. With every person we vaccinate, our community grows stronger. But we can only do it together. Beat the pandemic with Beaumont.
This is it, the final weekend of the biggest anniversary sale ever. Sunday, save on huge mattress doorbusters. All with savings up to $1,000 on the largest selection of top name brand mattresses. In stock with free same-day delivery. Sleep on it tonight and pay later with 0% financing up to 72 months with 0 down payment. Choose your comfort for only $9.99 on Serta Perfect Sleeper, Sealy, or Beauty Rest with a free box spring and free TV. It's our biggest anniversary sale ever. Only at Gardner White, Detroit's #1 mattress store. Sunday.
Visit GollingBloomfield.com and lease or buy your next vehicle online. Only at Golling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Bloomfield Hills. During the Jeep Celebration event, take off in a 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x4, now only $249 a month employee, $289 friends and family. Or lease the 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited 4x4 for just $329 a month employee, $369 friends and family. You search, you request, we deliver to your home or office. Shop GollingBloomfield.com. Golling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Bloomfield Hills.
Around here, the weather can turn in a snap. I've got you covered in the afternoons and evenings, but the moment you wake up, you've got the most experienced morning weather team in Detroit on Local 4 News Today. While you're sleeping, local forecasters Brandon and Paul are using Storm Tracker 4 to answer 2 vital questions. What happened last night?
Our west zone was walloped by white stuff.
And what's going to happen today?
You're going to be digging out this morning, that is for sure.
No matter what time it is, we've got you covered on Local 4 and click on Detroit.
Can't talk, gotta run, out of time. Meet the Press is next. See you next time on Flashpoint.